Hi, it's Becky from Lessons by the Lake. Today I want to talk to you about guided reading and some things that I do in my guided reading center. So I would love to hear how long your guided reading is. If you want to leave it in the comments below. Mine is 15 minutes, and I know that I need to maximize every single second that I have those students in front of me to really teach them and work on developing their reading abilities. So when I first started teaching guided reading, I felt overwhelmed and wasn't sure exactly how to target my students' needs. So I would turn to some professional books to help me. So my absolute favorite one is this book, The Next Step Forward in Guided Reading. It saved me. I use this for absolutely everything. So it has assessments in it to help figure out your student's exact level and needs. It has lesson plan structures that I copy and fill out each week, and it is set up in such a logical way, and it is so helpful in planning your guided reading time. This has if then for what your students need to work on. It has ideas for how to track their progress. It has absolutely everything. What words you should be working on, what skills for exactly their levels and needs. So this book, if you need something to help you with guided reading, I highly recommend this. I'll link some other books below that I use that were really helpful, but this is one that I keep next to me and I use every single day during guided reading. It has really helped. So one of the things this book helped me get started with is doing assessments on all my students. So they came to me with their F&P level from the year before, but I redid the assessments with them to make sure I had their exact instructional level at that time. And then I went through here and I did different assessments about their decoding ability, their fluency, their monitoring for understanding, just all these little aspects. And they were very quick, simple assessments. And then I was really able to look at my students, put them in order of reading level, so I could look at how many groups I had at each reading stage, and then look at their needs for decoding, for fluency, expression, for monitoring, for comprehension, for all those different things, to make sure that each group was truly targeting the same skills. So that while I had them with me and I was filling out this lesson plan, I made sure that what I was teaching them and practicing with them is exactly what they needed to help excel their reading. So that's really important, and forming groups is a really essential part of getting ready for guided reading. I'll put a link below to a blog that I talk about how I make my groups and how I make my schedule if you want to know some more about that. So when they come to me for guided reading, I always have cards on the table, and we start with a little warm-up where they're just either reading sight words or they're reading some nonsense words to practice decoding, just little cards that have words on them that they can sit down and get started. I do that for the first 30 seconds, mainly so that as they're coming to the table, if they come at different times, if someone has to stop, get a tissue on the way, or if I need to talk to another student for 1 second, that we can all come in and have something to do, and it helps them know what their expectation is and to start off calmly and prepared, so that in those first 30 seconds when I'm ready to get started with them, they're ready thinking and reading and ready to go. So we start with that. I always keep a clipboard with me during guided reading so I can take notes of things that I notice. There's a lot of charts in this book too that help you track exactly what you should be looking for at each level and with specific lessons. So I make copies of them a lot, and I do a lot of running records as I'm reading with the students. Depending on the level of the students, sometimes we have them take turns where they're each reading a page and I'm listening to each student read. Sometimes they're all reading aloud at the same time, and then I can lean in and really listen for their fluency and their decoding, and they don't have that pressure of having everyone else listens to them. Sometimes they're reading silently. It all depends on what our focus is and at their ability level, what is best for them to do and what's going to help them learn the best. I use different styles in order to best target what we're working on that week, depending on if we're working on word solving or comprehension. It all depends on the story and how I'm best going to serve my students. So I'm taking notes while I'm doing that. We also do some assessments where I use whiteboards and I ask students to write down things as they're reading, or if I ask them a question, they can write out their answer to practice working on complete sentences and really responding and using evidence from the text. And it's a way for them all to respond without listening to each other and hearing each other's answers, so they're truly getting the opportunity to think on their own. We also use pinch cards. I have cards that say A, B, C, D, yes, no, and true, false. I'm able to show them either a written question or I verbally ask them a question and they're able to use the pinch card to show me their response quickly. I also have laminated flip books at my guided reading station. So if we're practicing a certain skill, like this is the inference book, that they can use a dry erase marker and just write down the answer, and then I'm able to later in the day go back and check and see if they were able to successfully make an inference on their own. I'll put a link to these in the description. There's a lot of tricks to use to make sure that you're maximizing on that time. Having all the supplies right by you works really well. Having a plan of what you're going to work on with them helps you really maximize focusing in on using those seconds you have with them to focus what you need to do with them and what you need to work on. Keeping notes helps you reflect better and better plan for the next week and really help students. It's also good to monitor if students need to move groups. If someone's really excelling and not being challenged, think about, can you move them to a different group to work on a different skill? Would they benefit from that better? So there's a lot of things to think about with guided reading. So I hope some of this helps you think about how to get started and some ideas while you're planning and facilitating your guided reading. I highly suggest getting this book. It really saved me with understanding how to do guided reading. I'm doing a whole series of videos lately about how to run reading centers, how to plan for a month at a time, how to set it up, teacher routines and expectations. There's a lot of freebies to go along with these videos, so make sure you're subscribing to my channel. I'll put some links below for the freebies for you to check them out. Please let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I can do to help you out, and I really appreciate you stopping by today.